Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co.
And I am Ricky. Today we're doing Ultimate Treehouse.
Ultimate Treehouse from Fat Brains Toys Company is a game for 2 to 4 players in which players are building out their tree houses. You're going to have your individual player board, you're going to have the round tracker with the various components, the weather cards, all the various fun little cutesy little pieces over here that you'll have, and you're trying to go ahead and build various components from the board onto your treehouse across a variable number of rounds of play. The rounds will vary based on the player count, but you're going to be trying to gather components, play cards from your hand in order to gather, well, components and build stuff. I think I said gather components and build stuff like 4 times. Ricky, what do you do on your turn?
On your turn, you draw one card from the deck that's over there, I believe.
Yes, and then?
So I would do this.
Okay.
And then you play a card, and you play a card. So I, for example...
You have Gnome Depot 4.
Play Gnome Depot 4.
And then you go ahead and do what?
And then I would take... I need 4 resources. So let's see. Up here, there are a bunch of things. I think I want to build this.
Okay, so go
ahead. So I'm going to take one of these,
and 2 wood.
And 2 wood.
Okay, that's a card play. And then you can...
And then I'm going to put those all back. Probably should not have taken them because I was going to put them back immediately.
Well, you should keep one because we do have a weather card in play. The weather is currently cool and breezy. Summertime and the living is easy. Elements are discounted by 1. So you can keep 1 element. You have to pay 1 resource less.
Then I'm going to then I will do that.
And then go ahead and place it on your board.
And I'll place this on my board. You can tell where to place it because it matches the background.
Basically, every single turn, you're going to be starting with a hand of 5 cards. You're going to start the game with 5 cards. You'll always draw up to 5. You'll start your turn by drawing a card, playing the card, and then in any order, either playing a card or building any number of components. There are going to be weather cards in play that affect what you can or can't do. They'll affect, for instance, the cost of the components. You might have things like, on a soggy day, wood is waterlogged and can't be used for building. This is the upcoming weather, this is the current weather, and this also the round tracker at the same time.
We never did that one.
Well, we didn't have that one. There's a variable number of cards. You're going to have different cards that show up in play.
Every single one of these is a gain resources.
That's good. Gaining resources are good. But you're going to go ahead, at the end of your turn, you're going to restock the resource market with any new ones, and the next player will take their turn, and when all the players have taken their turn, that will define the round of play. Now, the reason you're trying to build these components onto your board is you're trying to get points, ultimately. Every single component's going to have a little point marker in the bottom of the corner. You can see, for example, that is a 2-point, if it'll focus. You can see that's a 2-point marker over there. That's going to be worth 2 points. And then we have interesting cards like this, which are worth a variable number of points depending on how many you get of them. These cards over here are worth 2, 3, or 8 points, or is it 2, 5? 2, 5, or 8 points, depending on whether you have 1, 2, or 3 copies of this card. You're going to have cards like that you can lay over themselves and have multiple copies of in order to get that higher point value, but that means you're focusing on those instead of building other aspects of your treehouse. The last thing is you're going to have core cards. These cards over here, for example, Ricky already has one, and here's another. These are core cards, and getting all 3 core cards, 1, 2, 3, is going to give you extra points as well, so you're trying to be mindful of that. And so you're trying to get points through the various elements and materials. For the elements that you build, you're trying to get points, but either their static value on them, more values if you have more copies of those cards for those ones you can have duplicates of, and then for the core components as well. Past that, you're just trying to manage your resource pool through card play, which will give you resources and or let you mess with other players in different ways, or give you discounts, or a whole bunch of cards, let you steal resources. You're going to have a lot of card play that effectively is trying to manage your resource pool as you're trying to manage your components across those rounds of play, and that's basically Ultimate Treehouse. Am I forgetting anything?
No.
Nope, I don't think so. I think that's the game. That's the game. You're going to be, again, across the either, I think it's 7, 8, or 9 rounds if I recall correctly, but I'd have to double check that. Depends on the player count. You're going to be building out your treehouse. It is possible, theoretically possible, to build out your entire treehouse, and not all elements have spots on them, but it's theoretically possible to build out the entire treehouse, but usually you're going to be building out certain ones, and it's about managing which materials and resources you have in play as you try to build it out. And let's go ahead and just for funsies, I'm going to give you like 5 cards. Let's just go ahead and build out our treehouses for a bit so we can see what a treehouse would look like. That's fine. Doubles.
Doubles.
I'm going to build out a treehouse over here and just try to put it into place so you get a sense of what a partially complete treehouse. Here, you can have that one. Double. Okay, we're going to put this one down here, over here. You get a sense of just, I can overlay this one because it's worth more points. We have our little hammock over here, which will go down there. And that's going to be my finished treehouse as far as how you can have the hammock.
I will take all the ones that you already have.
Excellent.
And you can have the ones I have.
And now you have a treehouse. These are the treehouses that are theoretically complete at the end of the game. And that is Ultimate Treehouse, which means it's time for the review. Ricky.
Yep.
Well, let's start off with ease of play. Easy to play. This is a 2 to 4 player game. The game plays pretty quickly, as you saw, because I just taught it to you pretty quickly. But the game itself plays pretty quickly, and then past that, the game itself takes around 45 to 60 minutes to play. I believe that's what the box says, and I think that's around accurate. It probably depends heavily on the player count you're playing at. Lower player counts will move faster, higher player counts, and especially if you're playing with kids, this definitely is more family focused, which means you might have younger children in the mix, and that can certainly slow down the game. I think if I was just playing with Ricky 2-player, I could probably knock out a game in 20-25 minutes, versus if you're playing with a full complement and with kids, it's probably going to be closer to that hour mark. As far as the review,
Hour mark.
Ricky, let's start off. What do you like about the game?
Well, first, I'm very amused. Of course, after I play the game, I learned that the on your turn is on the back of characters.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
You have your individual character over here. These characters are going to be your role, so to speak, but they also have your on your turn on the back of it, so you can both have a character. It's not, there's no abilities, there's no specific differences. It's just you giving your character and also giving you a rules reference at the same time.
Yep.
What else do you like?
I like how everything matches up with the background.
Okay.
Like how the tree is very pretty, and it's a whole building thing of tiny animals. I like how the weather has, like, reasons, like, has little things, and there's reasons for them, and again, adorable illustrations.
You mean the reasons by, like, it's raining, so that's why it's a soggy day? You call it the thematic element?
It's raining, so you can't use wood.
It's
really
very
hot, so you can't use metal. It's a
Yeah.
snowstorm, but you can. It's a snowstorm, but you can still. But everyone has snow gear. You can still work.
You have to pay an extra. Was it? I think there's.
No, there's two. There's two snowy ones.
Two snowy
There's
ones.
the blizzard, and then there's snowy.
Oh, the blizzard one. Yeah, the blizzard one is going to cost you an extra component for everything you build, which means you may want to hold off your building until future turns. Anything else you like?
Trying to think of something I haven't covered.
For myself so far, I'll focus primarily on components to start off with. The components in this game are incredibly well done. I love the neoprene mats. These are all neoprene player mats. They're not player boards. They're little mouse pad mats. They have a nice feel to them, nice look to them.
You literally use a mouse pad.
You totally could use a mouse pad, not even a question. It's a neoprene playmat, and there's 4 of them for the player count. These components over here are absolutely top-notch. They're little silkscreen wood components, but they feel great, they look great. Silkscreen components, I believe silkscreen just means that they printed on the components. So it's almost like a sticker, but it's a sticker that's been screened onto it so that it stays there.
Like cricketing?
Maybe like
Like permanent cricket?
I have no idea if cricket
Probably
is silkscreen.
permanent cricket.
Like a cricket. And if you don't know what a cricket is, it's a bug, but it's also a device that prints stickers for you. But yeah, the components overall are incredibly well done. I'll also say one thing that Ricky did not have a chance to see that is I really appreciate is the start of the rulebook starts with kind of a history of what, like not really a history, but kind of an explanation of what modern game design is. It starts off the very first page just talking about, well not this page, the second page. Second page talks about board game mechanics, about the ultimate Treehouse game mechanics, talking about gaming lingo, talking about the learning curve, just giving you like a bit of background to what it is to like take actions and resource management and tile placement. It's almost like a history, not history, a background to what the game is. People who are walking into this game and finding it on a Target shelf or Walmart shelf or wherever may have no idea what it is to play modern game design. This game does a good job kind of introducing you to the concept of, hey, you're not just rolling dice and doing stuff. This is about action management. It's about tile placement. It's about resource management. There's going to be rounds and turns and actions, and it gives you all that lingo, which I strongly appreciated. Moving into the gameplay aspects, for myself, the gameplay... You look like you want to say something?
What? No.
Oh, for myself, the gameplay, it's satisfying in the sense that you're gathering resources and trading them in for things. The events keep things a little interesting. The card play is a little interesting. I'm not as strongly on the pro side as far as mechanics. I think the production, background, rulebook, all great. Mechanics are definitely on the lighter side. We'll get to that in the things I don't like category shortly. Anything else you like before we move on to complaints?
Yes. The thing that gives you any resources of your type is called Gnome Depot.
Gnome Depot.
Gnome Depot.
Yeah, all the cards that give, not all the cards, there's a large section of cards that just give you any resources, and they're just the Gnome Depots. Gnome Depots 2, Gnome Depot 3, 4. I don't think there's a 5. I'm pretty sure there's not a 5.
There's not a 5.
But with that,
I looked through the whole deck.
Moving into the things we don't like, Ricky. What do you not like about the game?
Well, it does kind of annoy me that every single card that goes in a certain spot is the exact same artwork. I did wish there were different, like, little artwork variations, so you wouldn't always have the exact same treehouse. I mean, they would always still line up, so if you, let's say, had this one, then a different version of this one, it would still look streamlined, but it'd be, like, slightly different.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that point. I thought it was a missed opportunity to not have a treehouse that could possibly be unique. That the way you gather cards and place them down, even if the points are the exact same, but the idea of building out a treehouse that looks differently at the end and you could like take a photo, tag, whatever, or just have fun building out your own treehouse, I felt that was, I mean, the production of the game and the visual aesthetic of the game are so strong and so well done that I just felt like it was a missed opportunity to not have that variability to what pops out. So I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
This is a bit of artistry, but it kind of bothers me that the wood on this is a completely different color shade than the wood on this. Like, this is Like, this is more yellow and that's more dark.
likely just a printing aspect of the difference between the high-res file and how it prints on a card versus how it prints on Neophene.
And then the cards are kind of annoying because they're very narrowly based. Like, they're all either stop something, take a resource from someone else, or gain a resource mostly. I just kind of wish there were more fancy cards, like pick one of them and put that on. There are something similar to that. Or take one from somebody else. Take one of these from somebody else. Which cards are a bit more broad. Because they're mainly about the resources and less about the
actual
because the closest things to being about this is paying for free.
Yeah. I'll agree that I have complaints about the card deck. I like the weather deck. The weather deck I have no complaints about. It's nice, it's variable, there's lots of weather cards, so there's going to be variety to your games. The materials deck on its own, like I said, I wish things were different, but I don't care past that. But the deck I definitely have a few complaints about. First of all, I think in general, this is a very small nitpick, but in general I think it's just good practice to draw at the end of your turn rather than the start of your turn. That way you can plan at the end of your turn and then rock into your turn knowing what to do. Drawing at the start of your turn means you start every turn by slowing down the game as people think through things. Sometimes there's reasons why you have to do that. I don't know if I felt there were reasons here for that. But then also, the cards are very, very different in their strength. You'll have cards, like literally, the Gnome Depot is a good example. There's Gnome Depot 2, 3, and 4. If you draw 4 and I draw 2, you're just drawing a better card, which I don't love quite as much. I don't mind cards that are different for different situations, but giving people just straight up better cards and worse cards just feels a little less satisfying. It feels like the game turns a bit into luck of the draw of who draws the best cards that'll give them the most resources, as opposed to who manage their economy the best, so it can come down to those things. So the card deck I thought was fine, but like Ricky said, not very broad in terms of the amount of different things it did, just broad in terms of the strength of various things that it does, which just leads to a luck imbalance. Lastly, I'll just say in general, I think the game is, and this is where, you know, I'll save more for final thoughts, larger kind of analysis of the game, but I'd say that the game definitely felt very light and very procedural as far as what's happening, which is potentially a good thing for a family-focused game. It's a family-focused game, it'll teach you mechanics, it'll give you everything you need there, but the decision space is not that strongly present. It's play a card, do whatever resource conversion it says, gather tokens. There's a few small decisions. So for example, since you can build more than one component a turn, you can just not build components on turns that there's an extra cost. Wait till there's a sale, try to get as many as you can, but also you are limited to the 4 components in play because this only refills at the end of your full turn. So there are small decisions to be made, but for the most part, it's play a card, gather resources, build element, and then rinse and repeat until the game is over. Anything else, or final thoughts time?
Final thoughts.
Do you have final thoughts, or should I jump to it?
I have one.
Go for it.
That if somebody likes this game, then they could also get Best Treehouse Ever for a kid.
Ooh, that's recommendations. We'll get that shortly.
Recommendations
just shortly, at the very end of the video. So my final thoughts on this one is I think Ultimate Treehouse is a beautifully produced game that likely will be a fit for various people. For myself, I think the production's great. I think the visual aesthetic is great. I think people diving into this with, you know, looking for a family-friendly experience that is not too much as far as rules heavy will be very happy with this one. For me, this is definitely lighter than what I'm personally looking for. Even when I'm looking for something gateway friendly, this had promise, but like even a small thing, going back to what we talked about in the beginning, like what we don't like. Even something as simple as having different artwork on the cards so that your treehouse is fun as you play through it, gives you more of a reason to play it every single time because you want to build that different treehouse. But as it stands, this mostly came down to draw a card, play a card, gather resources, which is a lighter experience than what I'm personally looking for, while I also recognize that it may be a game that, you know, is appealing to someone who's looking for that even lighter, family-friendly experience. Anything on your end?
Still better final. Still don't really understand final thoughts yet.
Overall for me, Best Ultimate Treehouse, I can see the target audience, but the target audience is not me. As far as game recommendations, do you have any game recommendations?
If you played this with a kid, for the kid, Best Treehouse Ever.
Yeah, I think this game...
And Force of Fun, which is an expansion.
Force of Fun. Yeah, I think if you are looking for a Treehouse experience, I think that Best Treehouse Ever is a similar game in terms of the theme, while being very... And also in terms of the lightness. It also wasn't that heavy a game, but it gave you a lot more reason and compelling aspect as to why you'd want certain cards and be trying to build your treehouse. Similar game design concept, different mechanics, but I think that has a drop more appeal to the replayability of it. And that is basically Ultimate Treehouse from Fat Brain Toys Company. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co.
And I'm Ricky.
And have a good one.